Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. So again, just forewarning, like you probably heard in all my other videos, if you hear any car noises coming from outside, I do live on like a main road, so we do have lots of cars come past. But today I thought I would do the mid-year book tag. I've seen a few people doing this. I know mine's a bit late, but I wanted to make sure that I did it in July, so I at least had made it through half my year of reading before doing it. So the first question under this tag is the best book of 2023, and so far I have 2 books, and if you've watched any of my other videos, I don't think these will come to any surprise at all. But we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and we also have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So if you haven't heard of these books, Fourth Wing is a fantasy romance that follows Violet, whose mother is a commander in like this school that she has to go to, as well as like the army, I think. I don't know exactly how any of this works, but yeah, and so she wants to go to the school to be a scribe, which is what her father was, but her mother is a writer. All of her siblings are writers, so her mother forces her into becoming a writer, and through this they have to face many dangerous tasks. A lot of people are killed while trying to complete these tasks, and she also is described as very small and very weak, so these tasks for her are a lot harder than what they would be for any other average person. And yeah, this also has dragons in it, so you can't really go wrong with dragons. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. This was a 5-star read for me. I am going back, rereading it and tabbing this one because I just love it so much. And also I just saw today that they are releasing the special edition hardcovers with the sprayed edges in Australia at the end of the year, as well as a copy for Iron Flame at the end of the year, and I'm so excited to get my hands on a copy of those. Then we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This is a thriller novel which follows Millie, who currently lives in her car because she's just had a hard time holding a job, and so she's getting quite desperate. So now she is applying to housemaiding jobs, and she finds one that is live-in as well, which is amazing. And so she lives with this family, and then the wife starts acting weird and is like contradicting things that she said before. And so yeah, you follow this, and what happens. This one I was not able to predict anything that happened. It just absolutely blew my mind with the writing. It was so fast paced, the chapters were really short, and so I genuinely just was like, oh, just one more chapter, just one more chapter, just one more chapter. And it was amazing. I loved it. I read this, I think the first sitting I read like 100 pages, and then the second sitting I read the rest of the book, which is like over 200 pages, which for me is a lot to read in one sitting. So I absolutely devoured this book. I originally read it on Kindle because it is on Kindle Unlimited as well, but I loved it so much that I had to get the physical copy. The next question on this tag is the best sequel of 2023. Now, I haven't read many sequels this year so far. I've read a lot of first in series. The only one I really have for this one is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score, which I did really enjoy. I did listen to this one. I think I listened to the first one as well, but again, I just loved the series so much that I had to buy the physical copies, and this is just like the most beautiful cover of a book. So this follows Nash, which is Nox's brother from the first book, and his story. He is just an amazing guy. I absolutely loved reading about him and his romance, and I love in Lucy Score's, especially this series, I'm not too sure about her other books, but in this series it's not just romance, there's like some sort of other element and plot to the series, which is why they are like pretty thick, but it just adds so much more to the romance, and it's so good. I would really recommend this series. The next question is a new release I haven't read yet but want to, and there really is no other choice than Happy Place by Emily Henry. I've seen so many good things about this book. I am so excited to get to it. I just haven't yet. It is on my TBR for July, so you'll see when I post my reading wrap up if I get to this one. This follows Harriet and Wynne as they go on a trip with their friends for the last time to, I think it's like a beach house that they've gone to every year for a while, and so they're reminiscing on this last time being in this place that they've spent so much time with their friends. But also Harriet and Wynne have recently split up, but their friends don't know, so they have to kind of like fake being in a relationship again, so their friends don't find out that they're not. I'm so excited to read this and experience it. I'm a big fan of Emily Henry. I really love her books. I love that it's like more literary fiction with romance elements in it. I loved it. I think my favorite book by her would have to be You and Me on Vacation and Book Lovers. Those are my top two. The next question on this list is a new favorite author, and again I have two. So with my favorite authors, I always have to give authors like 2 to 3 books to really kind of like gauge their writing style and how like they've evolved. So there's many books that I really love that I could say I have a favorite author, but I haven't read anything else from them to really see if I like their writing style. So the first one I have is Frida McFadden. I absolutely love her thrillers. I've read The Housemaid, The Housemaid's Secret. I am really wanting to get to The Inmate. I've heard so many good things about that book as well, but I just really like her writing style, how fast-paced her books feel, the plot twists that come in, and it just is absolutely mind-blowing on how she comes up with these scenarios, and how she executes them is absolutely fabulous. The next author I have is Lucy Score, which should come as no surprise because I've read 2 books. I really like it. I'm really looking forward to eventually reading By a Thread, which I've seen again so many good things about. But yeah, I really love her writing style. Her romances are just amazing, and the way she incorporates other plot points instead of just romance is amazing. It keeps the story really alive and flowing really well. Now the next question is a book that made me cry, and for that one I have to do If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. Now this book was a part of Reading Booktuber's 5-star reads, and I loved this book. I just devoured it. There are a few things in this book that like weren't my favorite, but looking past that, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the like juvenileness of the story, because that's what it's based on. They're teenagers. This is what teenagers do, think and feel, and if you've read this book, you know what happens in it, and it's not really any kind of suspense. Like, you're introduced to what happens in the story at the very like first chapter, and so throughout reading this you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for this bad thing to happen. And I just was I wasn't sobbing because I don't really sob in books. I know that sounds really heartless, but I definitely had tears. I was definitely tearing up. A few tears rolled down, which is a lot for me. And so yeah, if you haven't read this and you're really looking for a heartbreaking book, I would highly recommend. Now the next question is a book that made me really happy, and again I have 2 books for this one. So first off, we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Again, was part of my Reading Booktuber's 5-star reads. This is a childhood friends to lovers past present timeline in the summer. You've got the main character Stephanie, who comes to their little beach house, and they live next door to these 2 teenage boys. If you like The Summer I Turned Pretty, I think you'd really like this one. It was just so good. Again, in that video you see just how much I loved it. It was the first book in a while that had really made me feel something, and I absolutely needed that again. I feel like without this I fully would have gone into some sort of book slump, because I just hadn't really felt anything with reading a book until I felt this one. There was a chapter that I read on my break at work and I just almost sobbed. It was amazing. But yes, if you really like Love in Other Words, You and Me on Vacation, and The Summer I Turned Pretty, you'd really enjoy this one. Now the next book, I also have 4th wing for this one. Genuinely, like I said before, it was so good. I loved it. Again, I think I read this one after Every Summer After, so I was really high on feels. And then this one, the romance in this one had me giggling and like kicking my feet. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I cannot recommend this book enough. I've just gotten my friend to start reading it. She's sending me her reactions and I'm absolutely eating it up. It's amazing. Okay, so the next question is favorite cover I have bought in 2023, and again I have a couple options for this one. So the first one I have is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings, which is the 2nd book in the Magnolia Park series. I have yet to read this one as well. I'm so excited to get to it. I did really enjoy Magnolia Parks. I think it took me a while to get into it and fully understand the story, but after I did, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to finally get into this book. I've also seen that it has like these like the little notes at the bottom, and I think I've read a chapter of this already, but I just love that element. It just creates so much fun, and it creates just so much fun and kind of like more inner thoughts, and it's just, yeah. But look at this cover. It is not, is this not just the most gorgeous cover you've ever seen? All the Magnolia Park covers are amazing. I only have the first two, and I really wanting to get the second two, but I put myself on a book buying ban for July. But then I also know that they're releasing new covers in August. Now the next books I have for this are part of a series, and that is the Chestnut Spring series. One, just all these books side by side are just amazing, but like, just I love very simple, aesthetically pleasing looking books. Now there is a fourth book called Reckless I don't have because it came out in July and I put myself on a book buying ban, so I unfortunately cannot get it, which is okay because I have also yet to read this series, but I've heard such amazing things about it and I'm so excited to finally get to it eventually. Okay, and the last question on this tag is most anticipated reads on my physical TBR, and so obviously I think all of these other than one I have already mentioned. So the first one we have is of course Happy Place. I'm so excited to finally read this one and finally understand why people love it so much, and hopefully I love it just as much. I've already explained this all before. Then next, like I just mentioned, I'm very excited to finally get to Daisy Hates and fully read this book and get to see this world from a different perspective. And I think this one also kind of has some sort of like gang stuff in it, and I'm very interested to see how that plays into the story. Then the last book I have for this video I have not mentioned before, but I'm so excited to read it. I think it's one of the next books I'm going to be picking up. Can people stop being so loud? That would be fab. And that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I have just heard so many great things by this, especially by Rachel Catherine. She absolutely raves about this book all the time, and so I'm so excited. It's definitely going to be one of the next books I pick up. It's on my July TBR, and yeah, I'm just so excited. Now I genuinely don't know much about this book. I will be going into this book mainly blind, and that's kind of my favorite thing to do with going into books, because then you just kind of have no expectations, you have no idea what's going to happen, and it just makes the reading experience so much better. So I can't really tell you too much about what's going on in this book, but again, I'm just really excited. I've heard such good things about Mia Sheridan's writing, so if I like this one, I'll definitely try and pick up more of her books and discover that. So yeah, that was today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing like what books made me happy, what books make me sad, what I'm really excited to read, and yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.